Yes, we are back live on this Sunday from Indianapolis in the 2026 Men's Final Four, which is now down to the final two. It's UConn looking for a third title in 4 years. It's Michigan looking for a first national championship in basketball since the late 1980s, 1989 to be exact. Somebody cuts the nets down at Lucas Oil Stadium on Monday night, and we're here to talk all about it on our platforms on college basketball coast to coast on social media, as well as podcasts and on the TuneIn streaming channel. I am the somewhat competent host, TJ Rives. Hello, Tyler Jones, here with me live. Ari Russell is here as well, live in Indy. More from him in a little while. They have Sunday open practices going on right now in and around the media. The practice itself is actually closed, but media access going on Sunday. We'll get you up to date on some injury situations and some interviews, etc., from Saturday night and Sunday in a few moments. But Tyler, great to have you. For the audience that's just seeing us on Sunday, we did a full audio recap on the TuneIn channel and on the pod feed. You and I did a quick 3-minute or so recap that's been on social media and also on the College Basketball Coast to Coast YouTube page. Great to be with you, but let's get some analysis going for this audience on a Sunday of what we thought of UConn and Michigan making the title game.
What an impressive showing from both teams of what Michigan and UConn did to reach this national championship game. You look at Michigan, they did everything right. There was hardly any flaws to find in their game. And when Yaxel went down, that seemed like that was a golden opportunity for Arizona to get back in. And that did not happen as his teammates rallied around him. We saw a great night from Mara, who had over 25 points in the victory. Trey McKinney came through big. That was a strong showing of when they needed their guys to step up, they delivered. And then you look at what UConn did. Alex Caravan had an off night himself, but yet, what do you know? Terrace Reed played very well with a good night. Solo Ball stepped up. Mullins hit some big shots down the stretch.
I thought if I can interrupt, I thought it was big. Mullins hit the two shots right away. Indiana kid that kind of ignited him. Then they went inside to Reed. Tell me what else you saw.
Yeah, and then they go back to Mullins to hit the dagger to put the game away at the very end. So, yeah, UConn, one thing that stood out to me too was that although they did not hit a high percentage from three-point range, they still hit plenty of them. And Illinois struggled with their three-point shooting. And I think that was a big difference when you looked at those two teams. And another thing that stood out in both games was the lack of assists that you saw from the losing teams. The differentials were massive between the two. This still requires a lot of passing to set up your shooters.
Sure.
That was obvious last night in both outcomes. And now you set up, I think, for a terrific championship game. You have the current dynasty that we're in of UConn, their third national championship the last 4 years, taking on a Michigan team that has been the best team in the country this year. And something's got to give. Will it be the team of today or the team of the last few years? We shall see.
Again, you got to credit UConn as much as possible. This time a week ago on Sunday night in Washington, D.C., they were on the verge of 86. They were on the verge of being bye-bye. Rally to beat Duke, got the miraculous steal and the 35-foot shot from Braylon Mullins. And they simply, over the course of 40 minutes, were just better than Illinois, which surprised me. Again, I'm going to own up. A lot of people run from it. I'm going to own up. I thought going into this that Illinois and Arizona would be the two teams. What do I know? Because ultimately it's UConn and Michigan, the other two. We'll get to Michigan again in a moment, but I keep coming back to you're going to have to kill UConn. You're going to have to put them away. Too many veteran players, tremendous coach. Obviously, I'll go ahead and put it up here on the screen that Danny Hurley now improves to 18-3 in NCAA tournament competition. Tyler, what we're seeing right there is not an accident on how you do this and how you get on the cusp of another national championship opportunity for the third time in 4 years.
He prepares his team so well, and nothing phases them. We think back to the Duke game a week ago today when they went 1 for 18 from the field, from three-point range in that game, rather. And yet they still responded and made the shots they needed to. And you look back at last night, they were locked in from the opening tip-off that they were not going to let what happened in that Duke game happen again. And you look ahead to Monday's game against Michigan. I think it is going to be so crucial for this UConn team to get off to a hot start, because we saw what happened to Arizona. Once they dug themselves into a hole, it was too massive to overcome. And UConn cannot let that happen again like they did against Duke.
Great job, obviously, by the Huskies. They are a buzz. We can just share with the audience. I think a lot of New England was already behind this team. We're going to see a lot more of them get here by tomorrow night. They have the habit and the ability on fairly short notice to get to somewhere. They got to get to the heartland of America here in Indianapolis, where we are. But I would expect several thousand more UConn fans to be in the building and grab the tickets. Most of the arena was Illinois, especially for the first game. Probably 20, maybe even 25,000 Illinois fans. I look for an influx of UConn fans to make their way here. Michigan proximity is much closer. They'll probably have most of Lucas Oil Stadium. It would not surprise me if the clad maize-colored Michigan fans will probably have 40, maybe even 50,000 of the 70,000 plus that will be there. But UConn will probably have 15 or 20. They're used to this. They're used to winning championships and traveling to go see it.
Yeah, they've been here, done that before. And for this UConn team, getting to the Final Four was not what they came here for. They were anticipating getting to the national championship. So UConn fans, those tickets probably a bit cheaper than what they were a couple days ago.
Yes.
They took care of business against Illinois. So now potentially find your way out here to Indianapolis and witness your team go for a national title here. But Michigan, I think it's going to be a home game for them, essentially, and they're a feisty bunch. One thing that stood out was, even though Illinois brought so many fans here, and I saw this in Houston last week too, that's not a rowdy crowd by any means. It didn't make that much of a difference for them to have all those people there when they weren't engaged and with it. But Michigan was a different story. Their fans were into it all night long, and they had quite the celebration afterwards as well. And I think they're going to do what they can to try to create a home environment as much as possible here in Indy.
Yeah, they have been a big brand name. Remember, they were in Chicago and got beaten in the championship game by Purdue, but they obviously had a bunch of fans. Once again, back in Chicago. And we rock all here on this edition of Coast to Coast. Away, and we're doing radio here. We are back live in Indianapolis, and just finish up on the point that Michigan traveled well, obviously, to Chicago. We think they will have bigger here. I don't know that the audience heard the full answer. We expect they will have most of the arena come Monday night.
It's only a 4-hour drive from Ann Arbor to Indianapolis. And so you'll have people take off work Monday and Tuesday and make the trek over here to witness history as Michigan goes for their first national title since 1989.
You're confirming again you didn't see it live. You've seen it since, but you didn't see it live.
I did not see it live. I was not on the planet for a few years. But nonetheless, this is a big night for Michigan, and there's already talk. Is this one of, if not the greatest teams in college basketball history, potentially, and this tournament run? I don't put them in the greatest team conversation, but it is one of the most impressive tournament runs we've ever seen. Beating Arizona by 18, that was the largest defeat in a semifinal or national championship game since 2016, when Villanova beat Oklahoma by 44 points. You beat Tennessee decisively 95-62, Alabama 90-77, St. Louis 95-92, and Howard 101-80. That game was close at halftime. Howard may have given them the best competition this whole tournament.
It's wild. And how about the stat? Because you just ran through it. 5 straight games with 90 or more. That's never been done before in the modern era of the tournament. And how about all of them by double figures? And as you just mentioned, that is a classic example last night at Lucas Oil Stadium, that the final score was not indicative, even at 18 points, of how badly Michigan drilled Arizona in the second half. That was a 30-point win that got dressed up in the final few minutes to look better. If you can say that from Arizona. It was shocking. I mean, just relay this to the audience. We were sitting there shocked at how easily they pulled away, making 7 of 9 3-pointers to start the second half and blew them out.
You want me to go back before my time? I will. Somewhere Billy Tubbs is watching this Michigan and loves what he sees.
Yes. And the late Jerry Tarkanian as well. His UNLV 1990 team with Grandmama Larry Johnson, Stacey Augman, and Anderson Hunt was blowing people out too, including Duke in the title game. But not over 5 games, much less 6 games if they can get it. Why don't we do this? Let's get to some interviews, because you were hustling last night after this. I know Ari Russell's going to be here in a little while with us. He was hustling over in the UConn locker room. We've got updates on potential injuries for players, etc. We should tell you up front that Yaxel Lindeborg, the Big Ten Player of the Year, was available during their media session this afternoon. He is, again, we will dub this as questionable with the 2 injuries to the left leg. You'll go over that in a second. But he was adamant after the game last night, I'm playing. I'm going to find a way to play. Now, how effective, that's something else. But update the injury status of Lindeborg, the forward, the best, one of the best players on this Michigan team.
For Lindeborg, it is a MCL and an ankle injury, both on his left side. But he says that he is going to give everything to play in this game. And remember, he is a highly sought-after NBA draft prospect as well. So for him to even say, like, hey, I'm doing everything I can, that speaks a lot to him, that he is still putting himself out on the line. But if you're Michigan, I think what you have to feel good about is the fact that when you didn't have him for a good portion of that game last night, the other guys stepped up, and Mara played his best game of the entire season.
Should say he got 2 fouls right away in the first minute and a half of the game and went out, and they started hitting shots and making it happen. So that was the first point that you're making. Then he made a couple of buckets, and then he got hurt and was gone for the rest of the first half. And they stepped up with Mara, who we're going to hear from in a couple of moments, and others making outside shots. That's your point.
Exactly. And what I would add to that as well, if you're a Michigan fan and you're looking for a bit of optimism, this game was out of hand for a very long time, and yet they still had Yaxel out there late in this game, not load managing him at all and trying to take things easy. They were testing that, and he felt fine and was holding his own out there. So to me, I think that we should see him close to full strength. At this time of year, nobody's fully healthy anyway. Everybody is banged up of some sorts, playing hurt. It's the old hurt or injured debate, and he's going to play a little hurt, and I think he'll play through it and play just fine.
A sprained medial collateral ligament, that's the outside ligament on your knee. That's no joke, and that's tough, and we don't know until tomorrow night, but he's going to try to give it a go, is the Michigan star Yaxel Lindeborg, who is the Big Ten Player of the Year. Why don't we do this? Why don't we hear from some conversations that you got in the Michigan locker room late on Saturday night after their 91-73 win over Arizona? We'll go to a couple of those now. Adai Mara, the 7-footer, had a 20-10 game in the national semifinal. Hello. The transfer 2 years ago from UCLA is delivering right now for Michigan. So let's hear some of you with him right now. Here is part of our coverage on college basketball coast to coast.
Looking to make a statement in some way?
I mean, well, we were ready for this game because we knew like people didn't believe that we were able to play against them. So I feel like we play similar games this season. You know, similar teams, like very physical teams, playing in the paint. And we did a great job. So we, like, even though that the people, I think, didn't believe in us, I think we knew that we were able to do this. So
What do they think now? What do people think now?
I don't care about the people. I care about the people that were there from the beginning. So.
Ay, que fue diferente hoy con 20.
All right. Then things turned to Spanish, by the way, in the interview. But hey, in any language, how about that for a segue? He was tremendous last night, and he will be a big key Monday night against UConn. Mara.
Si, senor. Yes, he will be. The tallest player, by the way, in the Final Four, towered over Tracy Wolfson in their interviews this past weekend. But he is a difference maker. He's an impact player, whether it's scoring, rebounding. He does it all. And you pair him up with Yaxel. That is such a force to be reckoned with. And think about this. Alex Caravan, they are going to need everything they can out of him. UConn is going up against those two. And Caravan did not play well last night despite the win. Only made one basket from field goal range.
You teed that up wonderfully. Why don't we talk about UConn a little bit? Why don't we talk about Alex Caravan, because you spoke and you were around other media that spoke with him last evening. At the time of this conversation on Saturday night, they did not know yet who the opponent was. It turns out that it's Michigan, but you'll hear Caravan talking about the win over Illinois and much more. Let's do that interview right now here on this Sunday from Indianapolis and the Final Four.
That's like hanging everywhere, the Final Four Indianapolis logo, like in the middle of the watch. I'm not sure what type of watch it is. I think I've given them away to
I was just gonna say,
my
like,
dad.
none of those have a special place for you, right? The rings.
No,
or
the rings have a special place. The watches, no, they don't.
There's a lot of players out there that would love to say that their last game of their college career is going to be in the national championship game. When you think about that, just what comes to mind about the journey you've been on and what you mean to this fan base and this team that you've been a part of for so long?
It means everything to me. I mean, I've stayed 4 years loyal to one program. Hard to leave a program when you win a national championship your first 2 years, and really just building a relationship with the fans has been incredible. Building this relationship with the coaching staff and having countless teammates by my side too. So really, it's a blessing. It's always a program. It's always a program that wins the national championship that gets to celebrate. And for myself to leave this legacy that's going to be untouched in college basketball with how college basketball is going right now, I think it's extremely unique, and I, at least myself personally, the guys in here want to capitalize on the opportunity.
If you've given the watches away, where are the rings?
The rings are in my hometown home. That's kept away safe. That my parents actually watch over. And the watches, I know my family has them. Like my dad probably has them. I just don't know where he put them. I'm not a big watch guy, so I don't like wearing watches.
Alex, when the final horn sounded, the ball was in your hands, and you just did a simple fist pump. What was kind of going through your mind there, and how much of that was the job not finished mentality?
I think that's kind of what I thought of right away. Is just really job isn't finished, and just knowing that there is 40 more minutes, and as great of a win this is, winning a national championship's a million times better. So just knowing what it feels like to be on the winning side of a national championship, you want to experience that.
When Illinois was making a push there in the second half, how much did you guys kind of rely on your ability to overcome adversity that you just saw a week ago coming back from down 20?
Yeah, I mean, we responded. I mean, we were on the flip side against Duke, but then also against Michigan State, we were up 20 as well. So we've been in that situation before on both ends, and we've been in a lot of close games as this team, and we've always found a way to respond and really find a way to win.
So Alex Caravan, who did not have a great game on Saturday night, but he's a veteran and he's made big shots in big moments for this team over the course of really the last 3 seasons, going back to their second of the 2 national titles a couple of years ago. And I like what he said towards the end of that scrum with the other media members, that as much as you were thrilled to win the game last night, he's been there. You want to win the one Monday night. In his words, it's a million times better to win Monday night, and it would be a 3rd ring. He's also right. You just look at this, you never say never. When is a team going to get held together, a program going to get held together enough to win back-to-back titles and or 3 and 4 years? It's so transient with the transfer portal, with people turning pro to the NBA to be able to hang on to your players. Tyler, follow up on Caravan being there with him as you were in that conversation last night, and what his impact might be on Monday night.
So earlier this week, I was talking to UConn legend Jeremy Lamb about Alex Caravan. And I said, what do you think of his game and what he does? This was prior to last night's matchup against Illinois. And Jeremy described him as having a very weird game. Unconventional is his style of play. He's like, I don't even know what to make of him just because he's odd of sorts out there. And he is kind of funny looking out on the court. But I would quote the legendary Forrest Gump when it comes when it comes to Alex Caravan. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Thank you.
Last night, the Caravan chocolates were not satisfying. They need some good Easter candy out of
nice.
Alex Caravan's basket tomorrow. You see what I did there?
I do. They're going for that third title in 4 years, and we keep discussing that this is historical stuff. Let's say again, they look to join UCLA. Hello, John Wooden. That's the last time 51 years ago that somebody won 3 national titles in 4 years. We should make mention here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. They won 8 in a row from 1966 to 1973 before not going to the 74 national title game, which was won by NC State. And that snapped their 8 consecutive national titles, but they came back the next year, and in 1975, John Wooden's final game won the championship. So that's the last 3 titles in 4 years. Is 51 years ago that it happened. There was an attempt at this in the early 90s with Duke. Duke had won back-to-back titles in 91 and 92 with Mike Krzyzewski and Christian Laettner. They didn't even make the Final Four in 1993. That was won by North Carolina. But they came back in 94 in Charlotte, lost to Arkansas in the championship game. So they got to the cusp of 3 and 4 years, didn't get there. So a little nostalgia on what UConn is going for. This is rarefied air, Tyler. Follow up one more time.
It is. This is unprecedented in this day and age in college basketball. What we're talking about with this UConn team to be able to accomplish what they are set out to do. And you think about Dan Hurley. Before all this started, folks, he had not won an NCAA tournament game at UConn. And now we're talking about him being unstoppable.
Yeah.
Amazing turn of events for Dan Hurley of what he's been able to do. UConn has been a force for 2+ decades now. And I would argue that UConn is as strong as ever under Dan Hurley. And I don't expect them to win tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that they're going away by any stretch of the imagination. This team will be back again and again and again. It's UConn's world, and we're all just living in it right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have been the story really going back to 99 when they beat Duke in St. Petersburg, Florida, for the first title with Jim Calhoun. He got 2 more in 04 in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, got another one in 2011, which our man Ari Russell was at that game with UConn and Butler. What an ugly game that was, but UConn will still take the rings and take the banner. Then Kevin Ollie got one, former Calhoun player and assistant as the head coach in 2014 in North Texas. We were there for that one. And now Danny Hurley with 2 and looking for a third. They have become a true blue blood. There is no disputing that over the last 26, 27 years.
Well, and by definition, they are not a blue blood. You can't become a blue blood. You are one or you're not.
You had to become a blue blood at some point in college basketball when it started. North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky by winning. So you had to become one.
There's only 5 blue bloods in college basketball.
Okay.
And those are Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, and UCLA. They are still the next generation, the next era. But I do think
UCLA has 1 title since that John Wooden.
Yeah.
UConn going for number, what did I say, 7.
But Nebraska is still a blue blood in college football, even though.
Okay, don't go there. We don't need that. We don't need that for another 30 minutes.
With that said, I think they are a model for everyone else, that you don't have to have the tradition. You don't have to have the history to build a program and compete on this stage. Michigan, very good history. Haven't won a title since 89. They fired their last coach, Juwan Howard, just a couple of years ago. And now Dusty May's got them in this position here. College basketball has changed. It doesn't matter if you're a blue blood or not. It matters if you have the coach and if you have the funding to compete.
And UConn obviously has both of those. Okay, a couple of more here with Tyler, and then Ari Russell with me live, including some reminiscing and some nostalgia. Speaking of nostalgia, about the Tornado Sunday in Indianapolis 20 years ago on Final Four weekend. We got to tell that story in a little bit. But let's go back to conversations. A conversation here that you had. Assistant coach for Michigan in Mike Boynton, who's the former Oklahoma State coach, on Dusty May's staff. He and May actually go back in the distant to when they were assistants on opposite teams in the same conference. You'll fill in the gaps on that. But what's it like to do the scout on UConn to prepare for a national title game? Let's get that from the perspective of an assistant coach here, as you talked with Mike Boynton after the semifinal win last night for the Michigan Wolverines to put them in the championship game.
Tyler Jones here alongside Michigan Wolverines assistant coach Mike Boynton after the Wolverines just had a dominating win over the Arizona Wildcats on their way to the Final Four. Mike, how exciting is this? Your journey just not too long ago, you were at Oklahoma State. Now, a couple of years into Michigan, you're coaching for a national title.
It's awesome. It's a testament to the staff that I work with, and obviously even more the players that we have an opportunity and thankful to be able to coach. We have a tremendous depth of talent, but we also have kids who care about winning and care about each other's success and play incredibly unselfish basketball, and it's the reason why we're going to be playing on Monday night.
Tell me about your experience here at Michigan. How satisfying has it been in working with Dusty May and company?
It's been awesome. Been a great learning experience for me. I feel like in some ways I've been on a little bit of a sabbatical from being a head coach. Not sure if I'll get another opportunity, but I feel like because of this experience, I'll be much more prepared if I am fortunate enough to do it again.
This Michigan team, tell me about your guys. What makes this group move?
Obviously, we got size. We have positional size. We have depth. We have big-time basketball IQ. But I think the key is really our unselfishness. For our guys to be able to rally around each other no matter what the circumstance is. Yaks essentially didn't play much at all today. For those other guys to step up knowing that they needed to do a little bit more and not be selfish doing that. There's a reason why we're going to have a chance to play against a really, really good program on Monday night for a national championship.
Looking ahead already to UConn, what stands out to them? What's it going to take to win that matchup?
They have winning DNA. They've won at a high level. Alex Caravan is probably this generation's Christian Laettner in terms of the success that he's had from a team standpoint during his time there. And it's going to be a heck of a challenge. They got one of the best coaches. They have really good guard play. Rives playing on a tear right now, and so we'll have to play really, really well to give ourselves a chance.
Mike, appreciate the time. Best of luck at the national championship.
Thank you very much.
Excellent get there, my friend, with an assistant coach. And you got a little more backstory on him because you're very familiar with Big 12 land and Oklahoma State, et cetera. And I teased up about him having familiarity with Dusty May when they were assistants.
Yes. So Mike Boynton and Dusty May used to be competitors just about 120 miles apart when Dusty May was an assistant at Louisiana Tech and when Mike Boynton was an assistant at Stephen F. Austin. Even though they weren't in the same conference, they were fighting for the same recruits and were on the recruiting trail going toe-to-toe, and that's how they got to know each other. Mike Boynton then goes to Oklahoma State. He took over after Brad Underwood left for Illinois, and he was in kind of a tough circumstance of sorts as there were some NCAA penalties that he was not a part of and had to deal with. He brought in some great players like Cade Cunningham and others there at Oklahoma State, but really couldn't find the success he was looking for. But now he comes to Michigan, and you heard in that conversation, he's not worried about trying to become a head coach right now elsewhere. Now, they all say that. But he is focused in, and I think that you're looking at one of the most valuable assistants in the country with what he's been able to do to help bring in players and help develop those guys. I think he's been a perfect fit for Dusty May. This has been a great story, and I'm happy to see him succeed after what he went through at Oklahoma State. To me, this is great.
All right, and another thing, Luke Murray, we haven't really brought this up a lot, at least on this show or recently. Luke Murray, the lead assistant for Danny Hurley, is now going to be the Boston College coach, but he stayed to coach at UConn. So the assistants, he's basically credited with being the offensive guru, the offensive set guru for UConn in Luke Murray. Couple more minutes with Tyler. Ari Russell on deck. By the way, we got some commenters that are weighing in. Let's see. Brandon is watching here this afternoon, says, hey to Tyler. He says, who do you both think is going to end up as the North Carolina head coach? Do we have that solved for the Tar Heels, Mr. Jones?
All signs seem to be pointing towards Billy Donovan, but he still has to be fired from the Chicago Bulls first.
Or he has to actually want the job.
Right, that too.
Or maybe he stays with the Bulls. We don't know. And what do they do if it's not him when they've waited this long? That's the great question, right?
Yeah, there's a number of names out there in college basketball that could be a good fit still. Ben McCollum at Iowa, Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska, Brad Underwood at Illinois, all as possibilities out there.
TJ,
great job.
TJ Otzelberger, you're a Big 12 guy. Is he viable at North Carolina real quick?
Sign an extension to stay at Iowa State.
Means nothing.
He's not going.
Means nothing. They sign those extensions, and 3 weeks later they go do something else.
I would be surprised if he left.
All right.
Even though Iowa State doesn't have much money themselves.
Don't be surprised that your take on UConn not being a blue blood is getting bashed. Chris William Wynn, I see you, brother, out in Vegas, says UConn is absolutely a blue blood. Their track record over the last quarter of a century solidifies that. I agree. You can't consider UCLA a blue blood anymore when they've won one title in 50 years if you're not going to consider UConn a blue blood. To the modern kids, they know nothing about John Wooden and Bill Walton and Lou Alcindor before he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Nothing about that.
Blue blood status is not something that can be taken away or given out. It's something that goes way back to when college basketball evolved and became what it is. So, no, they are part of the new era, and that's fine. They don't have to be a blue blood. That's okay.
One more titles than your Kansas Jayhawks recently.
They have. But my point being was that you don't have to be a blue blood to compete at this level. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. They are not a blue blood, and that's fine.
Right, love it. Why don't we do this? Tyler, thank you. Great stuff. Look forward to more of you on Monday as we go live at 2 Eastern time. And depending on if you're hearing us later on pod or on the TuneIn streaming app, be here Monday, 2 Eastern time for more on the previews. I look forward to talking with you more tomorrow before the national title game with Michigan and UConn. Thank you for that.
Stay tuned for my discussion on Nebraska football's blue blood status.
Yeah, the blue blood college football can wait for another day. While Tyler slides away, let me tell you about our sponsor, and that is our friends at Go Sleeves. By the way, if you are a weekend warrior, if you're a biker, a runner, a college a basketball player on the weekends, pickleball, etc., the kinesiology sleeves from Go Sleeves are tremendous. As they do 2 or 3 different things for your knees and your elbows. They help you recover, they help you manage pain, and they help you be back on the court or on the trail to condition immediately, be the best that you can be with these sleeves. So if the video audience is seeing it, take a look at the sleeves here for your knees, for your elbows. They even have them for your calves, pickleball, tennis, etc. It is go time at Go Sleeves. And we remind you, by the way, as well, that we have a promo code. As Ari Russell joins me, by the way. Good to have you, my friend.
All right. Nice to be here.
I
want to step in on that blue bud conversation.
You're going to get to that in just a second. Right. Let me finish up on the plug that our friends at Go Sleeves, we've got a promo code as well. Go to GoSleeves.com. The promo code is TJ for 15% off. It is go time. I'll put it back up on the screen. It is go time here at Go Sleeves for the kinesiology sleeves, for the knees, the calves, the elbows. If you're a golfer, pickleball player, you got the tennis elbow, the golf elbow, Go Sleeves. TJ is the promo code at GoSleeves.com. Check out the selection. We love it with our friends at Go Sleeves. All right, let's bring Ari Russell back in here. UConn, what did I mention? Now going for a 7th championship as a program since 1999, 3rd in 4 years. And Ari Russell is with me here. Fire away on blue blood status, yay or nay, on a Sunday here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I kind of am in the middle here with this. I understand what Tyler is saying in regards to kind of the transition or the evolution of basketball. But with that, you would kind of have to also eliminate Duke as a blue blood as well, because if we're talking about kind of the transition, Kansas and Kentucky and UNC are obviously 3 in there. Then UCLA, because of the John Wooden era, has definitely brought college basketball up. You know, so outside of that, then what are you talking about? Because then if we're talking about that, then we're going to have to mention CCNY
Right. That's a blue blood from the 50s.
Because they're also the only program that has ever won the NCAA and the NIT in the same season. But obviously now they're Division III because of the cheating scandal or the gambling scandal, point shaving that happened in the 50s. So I think that you have to kind of, all right, what constitutes a blue blood status? Now, before they won in 1999, you do have to kind of go back a decade prior with Calhoun, where UConn's program was at some point was at the bottom of the barrel of the Big East.
Absolutely.
But in the late 80s and early 90s, they started to elevate a lot. And we saw them starting to kind of bring their status up. And then the whole thing about Calhoun was, well, he couldn't get to the Final Four. Remember that? I mean,
oh, yes.
Those years he couldn't get to the Final Four. And then finally in 99, they broke through to the Final Four and then won the whole thing. And then ever since then, they kind of taken off and got.
You understand my point, though, that in the present day, the kids today know nothing about Adolph Rupp. They know nothing, and then the run for Kentucky. They know nothing about John Wooden and UCLA. Right. They know about UConn, not just in the recent, but this entire century, and this is why debates are great.
Yeah, that's true. And then if you look at Duke, I mean, Duke's run, I mean, they had some runs in the 60s and 70s, but when the time that Krzyzewski got there, they were not the program that they may have had been. And remember, back in the day, also, the only way that you can win a national championship was by winning your conference. But that changed after NC State won in 1973, it was, I believe, because Maryland was
74.
I'm sorry.
Snapped the UCLA streak.
Snapped the streak. 74. And then after that, they started talking about expanding the tournament, and they went to 48, I think, or 30.
So let's explain what you mean, that the tournament was 32 teams, and if you did not win your conference regular season title, forget about the conference tournament, because not everybody played a conference tournament, you couldn't go to the NCAA tournament. We're talking about they leave out the second or third best team of the SEC or the Big Ten or the ACC on a regular basis. So it definitely opened up the opportunity for many more teams, is your point.
So in 1974, the year that NC State won it, they were the number one team in the country that year. The number two team in the country was Maryland. They were both in the ACC that year. But because of that, the setup of the tournament, they weren't allowed into the NCAA tournament. So they were like, well, that's, the NCAA was like, well, we should probably expand this because we can't let the best teams, and Maryland was one of them, outside of the thing. So I think that year the Maryland had won the NIT tournament. So what they would do is that the NIT would invite schools that maybe were second or third or whatever. It was an invitational. It could have been anybody. At one point the NIT was actually the bigger deal than it was.
That's true.
Because you had all the best teams that were getting invited to that tournament. And it was very difficult to win both of the NCAA tournament and the NIT, because the NIT had a lot of more of a dense pool of better kind of high quality programs. And maybe a conference had 3 teams that were better than another conference that maybe had 1. And, so the competition was much more stiffer. Anyway, if we're talking about the Blue Bloods, the Duke really came into this status in after their back-to-back run in the early 90s when Krzyzewski got his first 2 titles. Obviously, we know what happened since then. So, we're talking 40 years in the making with that. We're talking 30, 35 years in the making with UConn at this point. Maybe they're not blue bloods, but they're new bloods. They're significant, because if we're talking about that too, if we're talking about blue bloods in football, University of Miami would fall into that category if we're putting Duke and UConn in it. And we all know that the blue bloods in football don't want Miami in there, but they have had 5. Right. 5 national championships in the last 42 years.
Gotcha.
And including being in 8 national titles as well, and probably should have been in more. We won't get into that. But as far as that, yeah, you would have to kind of come up with parameters of what constitutes a blue blood. But if we're talking about eras and everything like that, in this particular era, UConn is a solidified blue blood in this era, if you want it. But I'll just say that they're a new blood to kind of be diplomatic in it. But they are a significant, dominant powerhouse program, no question about it.
Wow. All right. The takes are flying every which direction. We're live here in Indianapolis. Give me a thought or two, because, again, we have new audience today that didn't necessarily hear our post-game coverage that was audio only on podcast and also on the TuneIn streaming app that is still there on the College Basketball Coast to Coast channel. But now we're live on Sunday. Give me something just real quick in the recap mode on UConn winning, Michigan winning. That's our matchup for Monday night. Ari.
Right. Well, I mean, with UConn, we already know how well prepared they're going to be at this point. I mean, the evidence is there under Danny Hurley that their teams are going to be prepared to play in the tournament, no matter who they're facing, what type of adjustments that they have to make. And as far as execution is concerned, they're always going to seem to execute at a very high level, which, again, they did last night against Illinois. Again, we're talking about under 5 turnovers in we take care of the basketball, win it every single time.
Sorry for the delay. Again, we've had some technical fun here on this Sunday in Indianapolis. Just finish up on the thought that you're going to have to beat UConn. You're going to have to take it from them. That's what you were saying when we left off.
Right.
And then segue into Michigan.
Yeah. So as far as Michigan is concerned, we're talking about a team that's just going to blitzkrieg you through 40 minutes of basketball. I mean, high tempo. They're going to push the issue, very physical. They have a tremendous amount of size in the paint. Their guards really get after it. And they really try to force turnovers. Last night they had 26 points or turnovers, which is a lot in general, especially in a national semifinal game against a team that didn't turn the ball over that much during the regular season and in the NCAA tournament in Arizona. And they really got them 13 turnovers. But again, 26 points off those turnovers. That's so efficient as far as being able to execute off of the other team turning it over. So that's something, and then just crashing the boards and getting after the loose balls and the hustle points. I mean, Michigan, that's what got them the win last night and win by such a heavy margin, was getting after it and getting after every loose ball and any 50-50 ball. It was 100% to Michigan. So when it comes to that, that's why they're playing on Monday night. But a very impressive performance. And again, their size is a problem for everybody, especially when Mara, their big guy, 7'3", is playing at the level that he is on both ends of the court. He's a problem. And if he's playing at that level with that level of confidence, it's a very tough match.
And here's the other thing, make shots. We saw Trey McKinney making shots. We saw others drilling threes early on in the game. Roddy Gale, Lindeborg made a couple of them. Again, he picked up 2 early fouls, made a couple of threes, then got hurt and missed much of the first half. They didn't miss his offense not being there at all, Ari, real quick.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant loss, you would think, but again, they didn't miss a beat, and that just tells you how well prepared this team is as well. I mean, you're talking about two coaches that prepare their teams so well for these big moments. I mean, they really are, I think, the two best coaches in college basketball at the moment, and there's no question why these two teams are playing for all of the marbles on Monday.
All right, let's do this. Let's talk a little UConn injury situation. You were over at the workouts again. Players were available on Sunday here in Indianapolis, and we noticed right away that the veteran guard Solo Ball of UConn is in a walking boot. Tell me more about what you saw, and that's going to lead into an interview that you had as well.
Right. So apparently Solo Ball last night got tangled up with Terrace Reed on a screen, and Terrace Reed, who's pretty big guy, pretty thick guy, kind of stepped on his foot and crushed his toes a little bit.
Not good.
Not good. So he's in the hands of the training staff, as he said, and the medical staff there to kind of work on him. And he said that everything else is normal. He's just working with the medical staff, So people were asking him, do you think you're going to play? He's like, I'm working with the medical staff. There's a 0% chance that he does not play.
Wait a minute, did you go double negative on me on that?
Exactly. I did that.
There's 0% chance he misses the national title game. He's playing in the national title. Now, how effective, just like Lindeborg, how effective are you going to be on that foot? We don't know that till we see them.
Right. Adrenaline plays a significant role, but to kind of get, I mean, there's the championship game. There's no way that Solo Ball isn't playing. But again, like you said, how effective has he going to be? And that means that, and also here's another thing. Demery has been banged up as well. He's been looking better, but they were asking him about it, and he's still a little hobbled as well. He didn't look too hobbled on Saturday either. He looked pretty spry. But everybody is banged up. I know Tyler mentioned that at this point. I mean, this is the last game of the season, and you better believe you're going to, cortisone it all up before. And
ibuprofen, little ice.
Yeah, whatever it is to get out there, these guys are going to be putting every effort into to get that playing time.
And ball, yes, sometimes, as Tyler's saying, is your best ability is your availability. Speaking of that, great segue. You talked with UConn guard Malachi Smith. We spoke with him in the preview mode before the Illinois win. You got him now off of that win over the Illini. This is a freshman guard from the Bronx, tough. Let's go to your conversation on Sunday right now with a UConn guard that may be heavily counted on here.
Right, Malachi, first off, congratulations on getting to the championship game. Obviously, you're going to be answering these questions today and up until the game time about kind of the banged up and the nature. I mean, everyone's kind of banged up at this point. You're playing a lot of games. But Ball and Demery banged up. It means that you're going to be playing a lot more. Perhaps, talk about your preparation in that and expecting to have to step into a role if those two guys are a little bit too banged up.
I think just my mentality, one thing I learned throughout the years is I don't know how many minutes I played, but I try to come in and make an impact as much as I could, whether that's scoring. But it might not be scoring, but it might just be defense, might just be getting my other play shots. So my mentality, one thing I learned is just to, whenever minutes I get, just make sure I come in and bring some energy. So I know Silas has been hurt. I've been trying to fill in. Last game I was kind of in foul trouble, but once I'm on the court, I'm gonna make sure I do whatever I got to do to win.
Now, quickly scout the Michigan guards, especially Cadeau. I mean, he had a phenomenal game last night, or on Saturday night rather. Just to kind of scout their guards and their athleticism and some of the challenges that they might present to you guys.
Yeah, Elliot's a great player. He's been playing well. He kind of struggled at UNC, but he's doing pretty well. He's doing very good this year. Shooting well, making good reads. So it's definitely going to be a good challenge. We've been playing good guards all year. So I think we're just going to take the challenge. Try to pressure as much as we could. They don't have their backup point guard with Kaysen. So we're probably just going to make sure we get under his legs and try to make sure we can force him to make some mistakes.
Absolutely. And finally, playing in the Bronx, talk about how that has prepared you for this stage. I mean, this is a big stage, but kind of like the tough playing in the leagues in the Bronx and, all the other AAU circuit, et cetera. How how that has prepared you from a competition level to a toughness level?
Yeah, I think I've been playing. I grew up in New York, and it's not easy. So playing in those rowdy and crazy environments, I think it just built me. Taught me how to play in these environments now, and this probably be the biggest game of my life. And like I said before, I want to take advantage of this opportunity, make sure we get the W.
Well, congratulations on getting here. Good luck on Monday night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
They are back, are the UConn Huskies. We are back here in Indianapolis for a few more minutes. May he be the X factor. He was talking about getting after Elliot Kadok, and they disrupt the Michigan point guard who's played very well, had 10 more assists last night. He's really come into his own down the stretch of the season. He's got right now about a 4.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio in the NCAA tournament. So Michigan's rolling, and Malachi Smith may be on him a bunch. Hey, a quick thought. We saw Braylon Mullins come alive at the beginning of this game on Saturday night with Illinois. Is he potentially like an X factor here at the moment for the UConn Huskies? Do you buy that a little bit? Could he be one of those guys, especially if Ball is laboring a little bit with the injury you described?
I can't call at this point Mullins an X factor because he is a key element of UConn. He is a through Z factor. They need him to step up.
Do you like my word wild card? Would you prefer that over X factor?
Yeah, he is a wild card in the sense of but they're going to depend upon him because he is their key shooter. He is their probably their most explosive scorer they have from the perimeter. So he's a guy that they need to lean on. Obviously, Caravan is going to have a game, big time senior moment here, and step up big time because look, they're playing against as formidable of an opponent as they've ever faced during this entire run here. So all hands on deck. But yeah, you're right. Mullins is going to have to really step up here in his home state.
We should mention they're going crazy here in Indianapolis because Braylon Mullins grew up and played high school basketball, which is legendary, obviously, in Indiana, much more so than a lot of other places, about 30 minutes from downtown Indy. So they're going nuts in this area in Indianapolis after he hit those threes to begin the game, hit a big clinching one late in the game as well. Couple of more minutes here for you and me. Again, we remind the audience we'll be here at 2 Eastern time on Monday with much more of a preview of Michigan and UConn. You know where I'm going. So we are sitting in a hotel room in Indianapolis. It is 20 years later from April of 2006 when Florida and UCLA were about to battle for the national title, which is the first time you had been to a Final Four, right? You were a Final Four novice. We were working previous broadcast lives with Sirius XM Radio.
XM at that point.
XM at that point. We're at the Final Four. And we knew about bad weather forecast. They had bad weather on Saturday here in Indianapolis. It's amazing how weather is cyclical. Here it is again 20 years later, first week in April. The wind and the tornadoes are back in the forecast. So luckily we didn't have tornadic activity last night. However, 20 years ago, you and I lived it in this very area, right in the same area where we are right now. We're on Sunday night, just like tonight is, in between the Final Four games and the national title game. Tornadoes in the Indianapolis area forced us to head down to the basement of the hotel that we were staying in. Although I said forced us, I had to force you, as I recall. And we're going to get into the story, but I had to almost drag you downstairs for the safety. I wanted to get you back safely to your colleagues at XM, your family, etc. But you were like having none of it 20 years ago to go downstairs out of safety for the tornadoes. What do you remember?
Yeah, well, it was the premiere of The Sopranos that night, and I was in the middle of watching it, and I'm sitting there because that's well before TiVo, or maybe TiVo was new, but you're in a hotel, you got no TiVo,
got no way to record it.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
this is the season premiere,
right? The season premiere of Sopranos that year in 2006. So do the math of what season it is. I can't think of it.
I think two from the end.
Yes, right, exactly. So I'm sitting there, and in the middle of the like 20 minutes into the episode, all of a sudden the sirens go off, and TJ's like, I think we got to go down. And I said, hold on, man, I got to watch this.
So I'm in the hall to pick up the story, and they are making announcements over the blaring alarm. evacuate now to the basement of the hotel. Seek shelter downstairs in the basement of the hotel. And I came back and told you that, and you said, I'm not leaving right now. You weren't
turning the volume up. I'm like, hold on, man, it's too loud, man. I need to turn the volume up on. He's like, what are you doing? There's a tornado warning. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not going to hit
they blare the alarm again, and they make the announcement again. Seek shelter. Safety first here. Come downstairs to the basement of the hotel. So finally, I convince you. I think there was still time on the clock for the episode of The Sopranos, but I convince you we've got to go downstairs. And as I recall, we were there a good hour down in the basement. Describe what you remember about being around the Florida fans, the UCLA fans, the wait staff from the restaurant of the hotel, some other hotel people. We were all down there together.
Yeah, it was a collection of randoms, and we were just down there, and
there were two of them of the randoms.
Definitely, and kind of joking around with the TGI Friday staff, who was a restaurant in the hotel at that point. Yeah, right in this area. Now, I don't think that it was, I believe, the Courtyard by Marriott, but we are currently in a Courtyard, right? But I think that building they knocked down.
But not from the tornado.
Not from the tornado, but I mean, that was 20 years ago. This whole area is brand new. Like, even the road in front of us was different. But again, it's close to the area. The energy of that moment 20 years ago is surrounding us right now. Hopefully, the tornadic activity stays away from this area so we don't have to repeat that and go into whatever basement it is again. But don't worry about it. There isn't any TV that I have to watch at this point.
Nothing tonight.
There isn't anything tonight that I must watch or that I couldn't wait for later on.
Can't record
or whatever it is that, everything now. TV is completely different now because it isn't must watch TV at the moment. It's all, streaming, and you binge watch now. So
on demand.
Different on demand. So, so we don't have to worry about that. I'll be more compliant. Plus, I'm 20 years older, nonetheless wiser, or maybe not.
Okay, so we were down there. I still remember this, and they were passing drinks around to the UCLA fans, the Florida fans. There were people that wanted to stay in the basement after they gave the all clear. I remember one of the safety people, a cop or somebody, came and said, okay, all clear on the sirens and on the radar. And lest you think that we're exaggerating, they actually had a tornado that touched down just north of downtown in Carmel, Indiana, which is a very affluent, ritzy suburb north of Indianapolis. And the Florida Gators were actually staying in Carmel, and the tornado was within a mile or so of their hotel that touched down. So this was not an exaggeration of what was going on. Again, we weren't down there for 15 minutes only. We were down there a good hour, bonding, you and I, in the basement of the hotel right here. And here we are 20 years later. Maybe